Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do the 8.7 re-engagement. So this is for the Pythagorean theorem equation. So whenever we have a right triangle, we are going to label it with A, B, and C. So C is always the hypotenuse. The hypotenuse is going to be the opposite of the right angle. So we're going to circle our right angle and then draw an arrow going in the opposite direction. And this one will always be C. So we always want to locate our right angle first, label it C. C will also always be the longest side. And like I said earlier, this is called your hypotenuse. And then we have our two sides that actually create the right angle. So this side is part of the right angle, this side is too. This one is going to be A and B. Now these don't really matter, but if you always want to make A the smaller one and then B the medium one, you can do that. These are called the legs. So we have two parts. We have the hypotenuse and we have the legs. And we're going to use these letters in our Pythagorean theorem. Our formula for the Pythagorean theorem is A squared plus B squared equals C squared. And again, this is only used for right triangles. Okay, so before we do this problem, we want to change work to home, and then we're going to read the problem. So it says, to go to school each day, Zane walks 24 yards due south to the bank, then 44 yards east. So the nearest hundredth of a yard, what is the distance between home and school? So we want to know, what is this distance going to be right here? Well, if we look at it, it creates a right triangle. So hey, I can use the Pythagorean theorem, this formula. Like we said earlier, the first thing we want to do is identify the right angle, draw the arrow on the opposite side. We automatically know that that one is C. The two that create the right angle are going to be A and B. So then we're going to write down our formula. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. And we actually are going to see if we have a number to plug in for A. So for A, we can plug in the number 24. So we have 24 squared plus, instead of B, we're going to put in 45. 45 squared equals, and I don't have a number to put in for C, so we're just going to leave it as C squared. Then we're going to type this into our calculator. So if you remember, we can type this into NSolve. So if we click menu, 3, 1, then our NSolve is going to pop up. And into NSolve, we're going to type this statement. 24 squared plus 45 squared equals C squared. Now, remember we have to tell the calculator to find C, so we're going to put comma C before our parentheses, and then we're going to close that parentheses. So since we're looking for the variable C, we put comma C. Remember, our calculator cannot automatically know what we're saying. It doesn't think for us. We have to tell it exactly what to find, so we need to make sure we put comma C, since that's what we're looking for. This is what it'll look like when we type it into the calculator. I'm going to click enter, and we get 51. So the distance between home and school is 51, and then we're going to look at our units, 51 yards. Now let's go ahead and look at this one. It says James painted the outside of his house. He leans a 13-foot ladder against the house, so here's the ladder. The base of the ladder is 5 feet away from the house, so the bottom of the ladder is 5 feet away from here. To the nearest hundredth of a foot, what is the distance from the floor to the top of the ladder? So we're looking for this question mark right here. So first thing we want to do again is find our right angle, circle it, draw our arrow. This one is going to be C. So I know that C is 13. Then we're going to label it A and B. Remember, they don't matter, but if we want to make A the smallest, we'll have A here and B here. So again, we're going to plug it into our formula. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Instead of A, I can plug in 5, so we're going to put 5 squared plus, now I don't have anything to plug in for B, so it's going to stay B squared equals C squared. So we can type this into, sorry, not C squared, we have a number for C. C is 13, so it's going to be equals 13 squared. So 5 squared plus B squared equals 13 squared. So menu 3-1. We're going to type in 5 squared plus b squared, and then equals, remember equals is right here under the control button, 13 squared, comma, this time we're looking for b, so we're going to put comma b. Click enter, and we get 12. So it's 12, and then we're going to look at the units, feet. So from the bottom, from the top of the ladder to the floor is 12 feet. Now let's go ahead and look at the back. We have another one that we're going to look for, another ladder problem. So it says an 11-foot ladder is leaning against the building. So here's the 11-foot ladder. The vertical distance from the top of the ground, from the ground to the top of the ladder is 10 feet. So here we have 10. To the nearest hundredth of a foot, what is the distance from the wall to the bottom of the ladder? So we're looking for this bottom part right here. So again, we want to find our right angle and label it C. So here's our right angle, draw our arrow. This is going to be C. A and B don't really matter. Let's make this one A and this one B. So A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Instead of A squared, well actually I don't have a number for A, so we're going to leave it A squared plus, instead of B squared we're going to put 10 squared equals, and instead of C we have a number again, so it's going to be 11 squared. So we're going to go ahead and type this into NSolve. Menu 1, 5, we'll clear it out. So then menu 3, 1. And then we'll type in A squared plus 10 squared equals 11 squared. Then we're looking for A, so comma A, enter. And we get 4.5828. So again, we want to round to the nearest hundredth. So we're going to stop after 2 decimal places. We're going to look at the number after those two, the 2 right here. Does it cause the 8 to stay where it's at or round up? So it's going to cause it to stay the same. So our answer is 4.58. And then our unit was feet, so feet. Xavier sketches several designs for a math club pen. The math club pen voted for a pen shape to be a right triangle. Which of the following could not be the shape for the math club pen? So now we're trying to see which one actually creates a right triangle. So since we don't know it's a right triangle for sure, we don't have a right angle. So we're going to label C first, but this time since we have all the sides, we know C is going to be the largest side. Just like how we wrote over here, we know C is the longest side. So 5, 12, 13. This is C, so this one would be A and B. 8, 17, 15, 17 is the largest, C, and then A and B. 9, 15, 12, 15 is the largest, so this one's going to be C, and then A and B. And then 6, 26, 24, 26 is the largest, so that's going to be C. And then we're going to go ahead and type it into A squared plus B squared equals C squared. So instead of A squared, we're going to type in 5 squared plus, instead of B squared, we're going to type in 12 squared equals, instead of C squared, we're going to type in 13 squared. So when we type that into our calculator, we're not going to type this into NSolve because we don't have any variable that we're solving for. We're just going to type it straight like that. 5 squared plus 12 squared equals 13 squared. Remember our equals button is right here under the control. Click enter. True. So this one does make a right triangle. We're looking for the one that's not going to be a right triangle, so let's go ahead and do B. So then we're going to look, and then A squared, so 9 squared, instead of B squared, 12 squared, equals 15 squared. Type that into our calculator. 9 squared plus 12 squared equals 15 squared. Enter. True. So this one also works. Then we're going to do this one. Instead of A, 8 squared plus 15 squared equals 17 squared. Type that in. Remember, not into NSolve because we're not solving for a letter. We have all of them. 8 squared plus 15 squared equals 17 squared. True. So this one also makes a right triangle. And then 6 squared plus 24 squared equals 26 squared, and type that in. And this one's false, so this is the only one that doesn't make a right triangle. Now make sure you grab an exit ticket, complete those 2 questions, and turn it in so that we can get credit back for this topic.